This story isn't so much about getting revenge, but more about karma finally rearing her head right when I needed her the most. My ex and I were together for over 14 years, a relationship that, for a long time, I thought would last forever. In hindsight, I should have seen the signs. But love tends to blind you to the things you don't want to see. From the start, he was always nagging me about quitting smoking. It wasn't just for my health, but also for the sake of my children, he'd say. I have two kids from a previous relationship, and he had a daughter from his own past. I remember a time when I thought I was pregnant with his child. Instead of being supportive or, at the very least, sensitive about the situation, he bullied me relentlessly, trying to force me into getting an abortion if I was pregnant. In his warped, paranoid mind, he believed that I was trying to trap him into marrying me by having his child, as if our 14-year-long relationship wasn't commitment enough. Luckily, it turned out to be a false alarm, and I didn't have to face that decision, but the way he reacted stuck with me. Eventually, I did get sick, which was my final wake-up call to quit smoking. Anyone who's ever quit smoking knows it's not easy. There's this gnawing need to replace that craving, and for me, food became my replacement. I gained weight, and rather than being supportive of the changes my body was going through or encouraging me to make healthier choices, my ex turned cruel. He'd ridicule me constantly, throwing insults about my weight like they were casual remarks. In his superficial mind, he thought shaming me was the key to motivating me to change. This was the man I trusted, the one I believed would always have my back. But as time would show, I was very wrong about him. He loved poker. It was his thing, playing with his friends, late-night games, the thrill of the gamble. That's how he met her. She was the wife of one of his poker buddies. This particular friend of his was always venting about how his wife had cheated on him. And my ex would come home and relay the drama to me, calling his friend an idiot for putting up with her infidelity. He seemed to despise cheating more than anything, always reminding me how much he loved the fact that I could be trusted, that I wasn't like those women who screwed around. Little did I know, the man I thought would never betray me was about to become everything he claimed to hate. It started gradually. He'd go out for his usual Monday night poker games, but instead of coming home around midnight, he'd stroll in at 2:30 or 3 in the morning. His excuse was always that he had to work overtime and then poker just went late. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? After all these years, I didn't have a reason not to believe him. But something he mentioned in passing one day stuck with me. He casually said that his friend's wife had asked if he'd give her a ride to the store on his motorcycle. A tiny alarm went off in the back of my mind, but I shrugged it off. I trusted him. That trust was the foundation of our relationship, and without it, everything was about to collapse. The poker nights started becoming more frequent. What was once a single night a week turned into 2, then 3. And it wasn't just poker anymore. He'd be gone all night, not even coming home until well after I had left for work. He stopped answering my phone calls, ignored my texts, and when I did manage to see him, he'd brush off my questions about where he had been. His go-to excuse was that he'd slept on his friend's couch or in his truck outside of work, too tired to come home. The stories got more elaborate, but still, I trusted him. I wanted to trust him. But as time went on, I couldn't ignore the growing pit in my stomach. That woman's intuition, every woman knows it, was screaming at me that something was wrong. The sex stopped completely. He stopped taking me out on weekends, and even when we did spend time together, he was glued to his phone. I remember sitting across the table from him at a restaurant feeling invisible. I had to send him a text just to get his attention. And when we got home, the phone would ring, but no one would be on the other end. I made note of the number. Something was off, and deep down, I knew what it was. One weekend, he claimed he was going on a fishing trip with a co-worker. He was supposed to be back by Sunday night, but Sunday came and went, and he didn't show. Monday passed. Still no word. By Tuesday morning, I was out of my mind with worry. I called a mutual friend hoping to get in touch with this co-worker. Oddly, the friend wouldn't give me the number but said he'd have the coworker call me. That call never came. It was then that I decided to look up that mysterious number from the phone calls on Facebook, and there she was, his friend's wife. I messaged her directly asking if she was sleeping with my man. Her response? She didn't even care that she was helping destroy a 14-year relationship. She wanted him, and she was going to take him from me. When I confronted my ex, he had the audacity to deny everything, even though I had all the proof in front of me. That fishing trip he had taken, it was an extended getaway with her, not some coworker. And his friends? They had all known. That's why they wouldn't give me the number, because they were covering for him. She wasn't just after my man, she wanted everything. The life we had built together, the stability, the home, the savings. She convinced him that I was too fat, too ugly, too unworthy of him. And he believed her. Slowly but surely, she isolated him from his family, his daughter, and anyone who didn't serve her purpose. She even wanted my engagement ring, the one he had given me years before. I had to change the locks on our house just to prevent him from coming in and taking whatever he wanted. In 6 months, they destroyed everything we had built together. He lost his job because he was constantly calling her from work, too insecure to leave her alone for even a few hours. He lost his relationship with his daughter because she hated this homewrecker and couldn't stand to be around them. He drained our savings because she insisted he pay all her bills, leaving our house to rot. I eventually had to move out because the city condemned it. I went through a deep depression, feeling worthless, like I wasn't good enough for the man I had loved for so long. But then something changed in me. I wasn't going to let them win. I started going to the gym, ironically still paid for by him, and I lost 80 pounds. When I walked into his mother's birthday party looking better than ever, her jaw dropped. His family couldn't stand to be around the woman he had left me for, and in that moment, I felt vindicated. As for him, Karma did what she does best. The woman who had stolen him from me stopped taking birth control and got pregnant without telling him. He was trapped in the very scenario he had accused me of trying to orchestrate. Now he's homeless, living in the basement of her son's house, jobless after being fired for never showing up, and completely isolated. He lost his vehicle, his motorcycle, his house, and his family. And, to top it all off, she's engaged to another man. Meanwhile, I've moved on. I'm in a happy, healthy relationship, and he's stuck in a miserable life with a controlling baby mama. Karma did her job. He got exactly what he deserved.